Hello, I'm sitting here in the garage. It's the 25th of October 2025, and I was thinking about things, interesting subjects to talk about. I was thinking about bonk first date, and if I have conveyed everything about bonk first date, and I thought I'd convey everything. There was a couple of profiles on Love Life which really struck me, which I'll not in a positive sense. There was a woman on there, and she said, "Don't fresh talk me. Don't expect anything. I don't do one night stands. I have to get to know you. No sleazy men." She had a list of don'ts and no's, and she said, "If you're lucky, we'll strike up a friendship." And at the time, I thought she was like, I just thought she was. What's that word? Can't think of it. But I was like, why are you even bothering having a profile up here? And in retrospect, I mean, in retrospect, I think she just enjoyed her life, probably enjoyed her life, and really didn't think much of that site. But although Love Life one night, going through women's profiles, and I was going through women's profiles, yes, you'll say you're going through women's profiles, and I came across this one woman, started reading it. She said, "If you don't make $100,000 a year, don't bother contacting me. Clean cut, conservative, no heavy metal, no long hair, must have a 9 to 5 job, must be able to take me out to dinner at least twice a week." There was a whole world. I read the whole thing. It was ridiculous and outrageous. In fact, it was the most high maintenance profile I had ever read. I don't know if she had a picture with it. And I was living at Maryland at the time with David, my friend David. I've known David for many years. We were at Shopfront together at Carlton in '91, and maintained contact. We became social outside of that. And anyway, in 2008 this was, and David, because I lived in David had the front room. He had just taken out a mortgage, and I lived out. I was at home with Mum and Dad. I went to join him at Maryland's. He said, "There's a spare room out the back. You can take it out if you want, and you can just help me with my mortgage, pay some rent." David got home that evening, and I said to him, I remembered, and I said, "Hey, I want you to, there's this, take a look at this profile on Love Life." He's like, "Oh," he said, like, "Yeah, okay, well, yeah, sure." I said, "You've got to read this profile. It's, this woman, she's high maintenance. Don't go near her." Anyway, don't go near her. And anyway, so he sat down. I showed him the profile. He looked at it, and he only read. He just read like a sentence, and he started laughing. And I'm like, "Oh, you are." No, he said, "You find that funny?" It's like, I said, "Oh, it's something really funny." He said, he said to me, "I've got to avoid." He said to me, "Let's delete this profile." I'm like, I've just changed. Oh, that's not her name, but I just he said, that's Lisa's profile. I'm like, so what? I said, what you talking about, Willis? He said, the woman that David was going out with at the time, that he saw, well, that was a drama in itself. They'd break up every other 5 minutes. And in fact, half the time at Maryland's, David would be living with her until they'd have a row. And he said, this is Lisa's profile. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. He said, I'm like, oh, I said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever read, and I thought he might get a bit, he went, he said it's Lisa's profile. And I'm like, oh shit. I said, whoa. And he just laughed. I'm like, oh, look, I didn't mean to offend you. He said, oh no, he said, you're not offending me. I said, wow, she offended a lot of guys off with that. He said, well, no, they have to get through that. And he said, he said, thanks for bringing that to my attention. She shouldn't have that up there at the moment. That shouldn't be up there like that, but I'll have to have a word with her about that. So I'm like, oh, I don't want, I said, David, I don't want to start anything. He said, oh, no. He said, no, they shouldn't be up there. I said, that's the most intense, that's the most profile I've ever read. And he was like, and I said, it says no long hair in heavy metal. So I said, what does she think about me? He said, oh, you don't want to know. I said, and I think I pressed him on. He said, she doesn't like you. She doesn't like Peter. Doesn't like. He said, and he said, David had he had an adventure with her. It was a journey. It was problematic. It was a very interesting journey for David. However, it lasted, I can't remember how long it lasted, a few years I think. And that was, yeah, I just remembered that. Hi, it's later in the day. It's in the evening of the 25th of October. I'm upstairs. I'm doing a few editing things, and I was thinking about this Lisa situation. Lisa is actually not her name, but so if I had left the video the way it was, not very fair at all, because I gave a one-dimensional viewpoint. Then I'd seen her profile. David had said, that's Lisa. I met Lisa a number of times, 5 or 10 times perhaps. What was Lisa like to me, from my perspective? What was she like? Always polite to me, courteous, sort of looked like a kind of like a Marilyn Monroe figure, a movie star. She was charming and flirtatious, and very good. Lisa was a very good listener. She was a very good listener. And David had stated that she doesn't like any of his friends. However, my interactions with her were the opposite. And whether she was just putting that on, I don't think that she was. Lisa even attended my 40th, back when, I ain't gonna say my age, but when I was 25 and going out in the town and attempting to get into to clubs in Sydney, I always got asked for ID all the time, and the bouncers would say, "You look 15, mate. You look young. You look 15." My 40th, Lisa attended that, and she brought one of her friends along, David, and also David, and I invited a lot of people, all the right people turned up, 8 people turned up, but Lisa, I found her to always be professional and friendly, courteous, polite, charming, funny, smart, very smart, and that's her profile on Love Life, I think, was there to fend off undesirable guys, whatnot, whatever. It was quite intimidating. But Lisa in person was, and I think she'd be about a bit older than me. David and Lisa parted ways some time back. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing these videos? Because when memories come to me, actually, when I pass on from here, transitions out of dimension, it can relocate, and it's going to be fine. Going to be fine. The light, the archons, the life review. I want to be ready for it. So I've been preparing for 5 years on and off. If I wrote down every memory all the time, I'd be exhausted. So don't do that, it'll exhaust me. Try to file them mentally. Initially, I started to write these down, and I'm still supposed to write these down. I found that this way is quite cathartic. Doing it this way is quite cathartic. So when I get a memory, when I remember something, think of a subject, I do this, and I try to, well, I express my point of view, obviously. I look for the truth. I try to be fair. I look for the truth, to get to the truth, and to understand it. And if there was any embarrassment or awkwardness, or I did something negative or positive. And so that is about Lisa. There's this anticipation to come downstairs and say this, because I was about to sort of put it through shortcut to get it. Have I put it through shortcut already? This is definitely an add-on to it. I'm going to add this on, but I thought I have to go downstairs and say more about Lisa, because what I've said so far isn't fair or accurate. The life review, reincarnation, soul trap.